So, Cheryl, tell us a little bit, because people at home may not understand what happens with prosthetic eyes in terms of their care and what is required to upkeep and maintain and replace prosthetic eyes.
Well, first of all, you have to have the surgery to have your eye removed. Then you, when you have the prosthetic eyes, well, first of all, a prosthetic eye, just to have one fitted, is costs $2,000 for one prosthetic eye, and I have two. So that's part of the cost there. Also, twice a year you have to have your prosthetic eyes cleaned, professionally cleaned, because there's a protein buildup and whatever else gets on the eye. And the cost of that is $80 per eye. So for me, $160 twice a year. That's $320. I'm not sure where else we were going with that, but
so replacement, how often do your prosthetic eyes need to be replaced?
They have to be replaced every 5 years, and that's because of the material that the prosthetic eyes are made out of. It's some type of plastic, and as everyone knows, plastic can break down, and you don't want the chemicals from the breakdown of the prosthetic eyes getting into your bloodstream, because then you've got infection and
excuse me.
And you don't want infection to get into your bloodstream and then back. You know, as it's well known, if you have infection in your eye socket, it's a portal to the brain. It leads to the brain. If infection gets to your brain, then it could be potentially fatal. And that was told to me by a doctor last year, because I went to the hospital because I had shingles and it was around my eye, and he cautioned me, not to let any of the virus get into my eye because it's potentially fatal. He actually said that.
Okay, okay. So we know that in other provinces, they have a copay system, such as Nova Scotia, which helps people who are like yourself, who can't get private coverage, private insurance coverage, and who also are not on the social welfare system, to be able to help defray some of those costs. And you and I were in the legislature last year, and we debated this, and the Liberal government actually agreed with our position. The Minister of Health, Victor Boudreau, actually agreed with the facts that we had presented during the debate, that it would be more cost effective and save the province money by helping people with prosthetic eyes avoid hospitalization due to not being able to keep up with the care of their eyes, than allowing people to just go uncared for and then having to go into the hospital system. So Cheryl, currently the current government has made it so that people under the auspices of mental health can get health care coverage for certain operations. I'd like you to talk to me a little bit, in your piano teaching business, how important it is for you, where you work with children, that you have, prosthetic eyes that are in good shape and in working order. Would you be able to teach children piano, teach your lessons, without prosthetic eyes?
No. Simple answer, no. I wouldn't, and I think anyone would agree, like, whatever their occupation is, it would be very difficult to, go to the office or in my case, teach children with no eyes, to present some sort of normalcy. Who would want to do that? And that's where the mental health comes into play for me. So it's not only just, teaching my children, but, for that matter, the parents of the children, I think, would have some objection, really. But so not even just the piano teaching, but just socializing,
Right.
just anything that you would do in your normal life, that would be an issue for me.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, but especially in my teaching, because that's what I do. That's my career. I've worked hard for that for 30 years, and I don't want to give that up.
No, and nor should you. You shouldn't be forced into that situation.
No.
So folks, that's going to be it for today's clip for these videos. Again, I would like to remind folks who have been watching and following these videos as we put them on Facebook, please share these in your social circles. Make sure that you're emailing the Health Minister, Victor Boudreau, at victor.boudreau@gnb.ca, and letting him know that you support this province helping people with prosthetic eyes who don't otherwise have coverage to get a little help in making sure that their prosthetic eye needs are met. If you would do that, that would be greatly appreciated by Cheryl and certainly everybody else who finds themselves in Cheryl's situation. So we really appreciate all the support. So Cheryl, in today's video, in today's clip, I want to talk to you a little bit about, where we've gotten to this point. So you and I, we started this journey about a year ago, and we brought a motion forth on the floor of the legislature, which the government seemed to support. And if I recall correctly, they indicated that they would have an answer for us in about 3 weeks. And it's been a year. How does this make you feel in terms of how important your issue is to this government?
Well, it makes you feel like this is not an important issue to the government. I don't know exactly how government works, but to me this should be a very simple issue, and it's a health issue. It's certainly not a DSD issue in my view, and it should have been, this should have been resolved by now. This is over a year since I have brought it up in the public. Before that, I just privately approached whichever health minister was in at the time, and I have been doing that for 10 years. But after the last rejection letter, if you want to call it that, I just decided, no, I guess I'm going to have to go public. I can't do this myself. So yes, last year, after the legislature, they did say they would have an answer for us in 2 to 3 weeks. And then since then, of course, other correspondences with the health minister and so on, and I keep getting the same answer. For example, was it just maybe 2.5 months ago? Maybe I emailed the health minister as well as my own MLA and asked if there was an update, and I was emailed by Victor Boudreau and said, thank you for your patience. We just need a few more weeks to research this. And now it's been 2.5 to 3 months.
Right. And, this has been a long time coming. Cheryl, you've been working on this, as you say, for 10 years. At this point, the government has said repeatedly, well, if we look after prosthetics for one group, we have to look after prosthetics for every group. And Cheryl, I think you have a very valid point in terms of the necessity of replacing prosthetics. I would argue that for somebody who needs prosthetic eyes to be replaced for cleanliness and for safety, that's a real health issue. Somebody with a different kind of prosthetic, maybe a prosthetic hand or a prosthetic foot, that's not a real health issue for them in the sense that they're not going to get an infection and possibly have to be hospitalized or die. Would that be an accurate statement in your mind in terms of the differences between the prosthetics?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be accurate. I don't, maybe just putting my own view in here, maybe it shouldn't be in here, but I think anything to do with our health should be covered. And so if it's a prosthetic, anything, it just should be covered. It's not like an extra. We're not asking for an extra. And I had to laugh at one of the comments on my petition, online petition. This lady said, it's not like someone's going to be scamming the government for prosthetic eyes. You're not going to scam the government for that. I mean, it's a necessity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, as we've been doing throughout these video sections, I'd ask the public to make sure they're sharing these videos to all their social media friends and contacts, and to also to take the time to email Victor Boudreau. He is the Minister of Health. He is the person who needs to be made aware that New Brunswickers care about this issue and want to make sure that they help people like Cheryl. She's not the only person in this position. There's roughly about a dozen people in the province who are in this position. So this is not a huge dollar amount to the government. If everybody that is in Cheryl's situation that doesn't have private health care coverage and yet is not on social development, if every one of them needed their prosthetics replaced at the same time, the total cost to the province would be about $50,000. And that would be a one-time cost every 5 years. And that would be assuming that everybody needed to have theirs replaced all on the same day, which we know is not reasonable. So we need New Brunswickers to take the time to email Victor Boudreau and let him know that people in Cheryl's case who work hard, who pay taxes, who can't otherwise look after their prosthetic eye needs, that they need some support and need some help. So please email victor.boudreau@gnb.ca, make the title of the subject prosthetic eyes, and let the health minister know that you support Cheryl and the other people in the province who need a little bit of help with covering the cost of their prosthetic eyes. Thank you very much for that.